Hi, folks. This is Rick Doc Walker, the DOC.
This is John Kime, and you're listening to the Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted.
What's up, Rally? I'd ask you how you're doing, man, but I kind of have a feeling.
Man, let me tell you this, Ted. Myself, you, our listeners, and the fan base, there ain't a lot to talk about. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear we got to do it. Hey, look, it's football, you against somebody else, and my hat says it all. Is even though I'm pissed, I rep this squad 365, 7 days a week. And that's just how it is. Let's get it.
Yeah, man. Before we jump into it, I want to say quick prayers out for Jeremy Reaves. Revo's going through surgery today to take care of his problem, and his
Okay.
season got cut way too short. So just sending Reeves just prayers and good vibes for a speedy recovery. I mean, we could definitely use him out there, but obviously he's got some other stuff going on. But if you guys have
Hmm.
listened to this, make sure you send Reeves a tweet. Let him know that we're all thinking about him because, just like Riley said, it's 365. These guys are in our minds, in our hearts, and we want to make sure that he knows that we got his back, even though he's not on that field with the rest of his brothers out there. So, did you go to the rally up in New York? Did you make it to Dorian's? Because I saw that thing was at 1 o'clock, and I had a bunch of people ask me why did they do it for one. So I was curious if you made it up there in time.
No, I wasn't able to make it in time. I wasn't able to get there until Sunday morning. Due
Okay.
to some things, due to some things that happened on my end. But yeah, that was a bad time. I don't know why they did that. They kind of, uh, I'm not, well, I was told, and I can't speak firsthand, but I was told they kind of misrepresented themselves, saying that former players were going to be there from 1 to 4, but in all actuality, those players were there for their podcast at 6:30. And so
Yeah.
if you stayed later after the 4 o'clock drop off date or drop off time rather, then yeah, the players came for their podcast. But that didn't help the people who drove from Maryland to New York strictly for the rally to meet
Oh man.
former players. Yeah, and I hate to say it. Hey, this is the DV mess hall, so we're going to tell you just like it is, folks. I gotta say this, and maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't hear it. I'm not in charge of the rallies. I don't have anything to do with what the team does. So please stop contacting me as far as why something is left or right. It's I don't have any control over that. The team sets this stuff up. Okay. So please, I appreciate you guys contacting me. I do, but I'm not in charge of that stuff. So I have no say. I can't answer those questions. You have to contact the organization for those answers. I don't have them.
Yeah. And Riley's always said once the team takes it over, it's on them. And we can advise them, give them recommendations till we're blue in the face. But it's completely up to them if they actually want to listen. And I'm not saying that he is or isn't or what's going on. Just from my perspective, I have told them plenty of times different things to improve the fan experience just at the stadium. And I can tell you now that half the stuff I give them advice on that's kind of common sense, they don't take me up on. And for whatever reason, there could be issues behind the scenes that just don't make it logistically possible. But I'm bummed to hear that some of our fellow brothers and sisters had that experience because I do know that they had some fans out there. I didn't
Oh yeah.
see a bunch of pictures, but one thing I did say that seemed like an improvement was Macy, who's in charge of it for the team, had a lot more swag with her and a lot more giveaways. But it sounds like she might have had to pack some of those up and bring them back home for the next rally, I guess, that they're going to be doing, wherever that's going
Yeah, I heard that they did have giveaways, which is always a good thing. Fans want to be able to have something to take home other than a memory of or pictures. They want to be able to have something from the team that represents who they are and what they're about. So shout out Macy once again for doing what you can do to keep these things to start them, shall I say, not keep them going, but to start them back up. We really do appreciate it. I it's kind of frustrating, as I said, when you hear the vibe, and people were very happy that they had the rally. They just weren't happy about the time, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
why the time was 1 o'clock. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Hey, we can move on to the next topic because that's out of my wheelhouse.
No, I hear you. I didn't know that you weren't up there in time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of other people missed out. But how was the stadium situation? Did you get a chance to walk around the lots, or typically you just kind of head straight in when it's an away game?
Well, for an away game, if a fellow Commander fan has said or sent me an IG or something, the DM, and said, "Hey, we're going to have a rally at this location," I will make my way to that rally if I can. And so, Commander's Corner had a tailgate, and so they sent me a message on DM, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I will be there." And I actually met some fans who came to their tailgate from Finland, and I
Finland.
couldn't believe it.
Commanders
Yeah,
fans in Finland.
in Finland. I couldn't believe it, and I
Man,
and I took pictures with them. I just haven't had time to upload them. And there was also another gentleman from London, who I took pictures with, and he shouted me out on Twitter. So if you can go through my feed, and I'm not asking you to, but I'm just saying if you go through my feed, you'll see the guy from England. He shouted me out, and just Finland and England, and that just tells you, man, our fan base is global. It really is. And just talking to these people, they expect so much more from the team and so much
yeah.
more of an effort. And so it's I thought, it's one thing for me to go to games and be frustrated. It's another thing for you to circle this game on your calendar. And I don't know why this was the game that they circled, but they circled this game on the calendar to come see them play the Giants and to go out the way that the team did. Man, it's frustrating. I mean, I'm kind of
Yeah.
numb to it now. So, people say, well, "Why do you laugh?" And I say, because I this is just what it is. It's not that I'm laughing because I'm happy. I'm laughing to stop me from saying other words that don't need to be said. But I can bet you believe that flight, that 15-hour flight from Newark back to Finland, is you're cussing. Now, granted,
Yeah.
they enjoyed their experience because they said that they hadn't seen this many. Well, they called them Redskins because in their mind, even though they know that they are Commanders, they said Redskins. And so I'm going to just keep it 100. Well, what they said, "Hey, look, we're just happy to see this many Redskins fans around because in Finland we don't have that many." Although they did say that there are some that are there besides them, they just didn't have the money to be able to make it to that stadium or to that particular game. But there are fans in Finland, which just blows my mind. But
Mine too,
we,
man. I mean,
but
London, I get just because
yeah,
of the whole NFL London experience. But Finland,
yeah,
I don't even know where the hell that is on the map. I mean, to follow
yeah,
this team from out there, that's crazy
yeah,
to me, man.
yeah. I mean, this guy said that he gets up at 3 a.m. because they are 6 hours. He said that he gets up at 3 a.m. to be able to follow the draft. He said he watches the draft. I couldn't believe it, the things that he was telling me, that he watches the draft, that he gets up every morning to doggone watch the games because they have I guess it's like their version of YouTube TV. There's a version that you can
Okay.
pay. He said you pay $250 for the year to get all of the NFL content. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, $250 a year. I guess that's not bad if, just be able to see what you want to see. And so it was just amazing just chopping it up with this guy. And this was he was a big guy. He was a big guy. I mean, I I was like,
No,
I
that's
mean, just
awesome, man.
big husky guy. Yeah, yeah,
That's what makes going to these games and just meeting our fellow fans, just because they're from everywhere. I mean,
yeah,
we asked people when we had a game with the tailgate who flew in the farthest, and we had people
yeah,
come from Dubai, from Australia, and I can see why people would pick the Giants game internationally just because it's such a hub for travel. So to
yeah.
me, that makes sense to have that be the one you want to go to. And hey, The Giants were 1-5. So, people cherry pick their travel based upon games that they think we might actually win. And I actually put this out on Twitter after the game. So shame on me for thinking the Commanders would step up versus a depleted Giants team. The enemy's first half play calling is dumbfounding to me. And the defense giving up nearly 300 yards in the first half to a backup quarterback and O-line was a disgrace. I just, the guy from Finland, he deserves better.
Yeah.
The other fans that went up to New York, they deserve better. The other season ticket holders deserve better. And I don't know about you, but for me, the honeymoon's over. I gave Bieniemy some slack because he inherited a just POS offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't do a damn thing scheme wise to address it. And he just got outcoached by Winkendale, who previously he blitzed Brock Purdy when they played the 49ers 33 out of 39 times. So you're talking he blitzed him, 80 something percent? You know what you get with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Bieniemy just failed to, in my opinion, care. He just wanted to do his 15 play script no matter what and try to fit a square peg into a round hole. And next thing you know, the guy from Finland is stuck there watching just a piss poor effort. And you went all the way up there just to witness that. It's just frustrating as a fan.
It is frustrating, Ted, and I think so I'm going to say that the blame game goes to the coaching staff. Period. I'm just not going to say Bieniemy. And the reason why I say that is because, and we've said this all the way up into training camp. And one thing that I did tell you, and I told our listeners, is that Baltimore practice showed me that the guys can handle one-on-ones. But if it comes down to when they were doing individual one-on-one drills, those guys were blocking and no one was really getting to the quarterback. But when it comes down to whatever it is with the team functions, when it really matters, that's where they struggled. And I don't know why they can't put it together. And I've said that all the way back from our pod when like I said, we practiced against Baltimore in that joint practice. So you guys drafted these players. You guys hand-picked these players, drafted, hand-picked, whatever you want to say. You guys brought them in, and you said, yep, we're going to hang our hats on these guys. But now you see that these guys aren't on the same page. They just aren't. And one thing that bothers me about this squad versus other squads, and I don't know the whole money aspect of things, and maybe you can answer this, or maybe even our listeners can answer this. It just seems to me that the other teams are trying to figure out ways to bring guys in and give them 1-year deals to try to shore up where they may have issues. And I just don't feel that our team is doing that. In years past, when there was an injury, we had 2 tight ends come in and practice, or we had matter of fact, what was it? Joey Sly. We had 2 kickers come in and try to not necessarily replace them, but to see where they are. I need to be able to hear that today. I need you to tell me, hey, the Commanders had 6 guys try out for the offensive line or try out for different positions or whatever have you. As a fan, that's what we need to hear. It may not happen, but it takes something like that to help us get over this hump because we see where there's a huge hole.
I hear you, and I'm going to tell you why it's not happening from that side because you have a 53-man roster and you only have so many spots. So the guys that they have that they've made their bed with, they're not kicking them out because in their eyes, they're journeymen that are out there that aren't as good. And the problem I have is the Giants were the team on Sunday that had the banged up offensive line and literally a guy coming in off his couch.
Yep.
We had the healthy offensive line until Sadiq went down, and Stromberg came in and didn't do that bad a job. The guy who had the worst day, in my opinion, and I went back and watched it, and I watched it in slow motion, was Nick Gates. And I'm going down here and I'm looking at all the sacks. The Giants, and we said it, don't be that team, right? Well, guess what? They were that team on Sunday, and we
Yep.
should have seen it coming. The Giants had 5 sacks the entire season, and we gave up 5 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
The first sack was on the second snap of the game. Howell got rushed right up the middle, and if you guys go back and watch the film, Nick Gates and B-Rob have middle protection. Linebacker comes right up the middle. They both go after the same guy, and let the other guy run free right through. And that just goes back to what you're talking about. It's the communication aspect. And this is a question that Ron had to answer about what was the plan for the pressure.
What was the game plan to handle pressure, and why was it ineffective?
It's the same game plan that we used in the second half that was effective. Unfortunately, we didn't get it done early on. We put ourselves in a tough spot.
Why not?
Because we didn't handle it.
I don't agree that it was the same game plan, because in the second half, Bieniemy brought in extra linemen, kept extra people in the block. They weren't doing that in the first half. So, Ron says what he says, but he doesn't know what the game plan is. I'm sorry, because Bieniemy is in charge of the entire offense scheme from that perspective. Ron's I'd say the Queen of England, but whatever the King's name is, I'll have to ask Mrs. Tailgate to clear that up for me. But it was just so frustrating to see, because that all they're going to do is blitz. Because guess what Sam struggled with the other games that we lost was facing that blitz. Yep. And I'm going down here on the sack list, the second sack of the game. It was a stunt up the middle, just like you're talking about in Baltimore. Your defensive tackle and your defensive end are stunning. For those of our listeners that don't know what that means, is they'll go one way, the other guy goes the other way. So the guy that you're looking to face head up, next thing you know, goes around and goes someplace else. So then we had a lineman just sitting there, standing up with no one to block, because he got confused. He didn't know what to do. And that just goes back to communication. And these are guys that have been practicing together since OTAs, since minicamp, since preseason. So you've got no excuse not to be able to communicate with your brother beside you when the Giants had guys coming in off the street, blocking 4 first-rounders. And that's what just makes me so damn angry, because I thought that we were better than that.
Yeah. We all thought that we were better than that. And it goes back to what you were saying. At some point in time, when I was playing, and obviously when you were playing, we had words that we would use. I don't want to hear just say, you, no matter what, stay with him. I'm, no matter what, staying with him. So if he crosses, we will figure out a way. We won't like in basketball, switch off to another guy. That's your guy. You stick with him no matter what, if that's what it takes. Now, I know that probably wouldn't work, but it just seems as though something like that needs to be done. Is it too difficult to grasp? Because when you look at it on film, we look like a high school team, man. It's bad. It's bad.
It is. And it's not like, everyone, we've talked about this during preseason. Smoot talks about everyone, iron sharpens iron. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Not in our situation, because how many times has the defense been told to let up and not hit the gas and go after them? But now I'm starting to wonder, is our defense iron? Is that front 4 iron? Considering they gave up 250-plus yards in the first half to Tyrod Taylor and a depleted Giants offensive line. And we give them props when they get it right. But when they get it wrong, and I get that they held them to 14 points, but being realistic, they were driving up and down the field on them. And we got lucky the score wasn't worse than what it could have been. Thibodeau dropped an easy pick 6.
Oh, my gosh. That was yeah, you're right, man. God talking. I mean, I was happy that he did.
Right in his hands, man. You can't ask for just a bigger gift right there. And the only reason we scored was because they had a fumbled punt return, right? And finally the offense got within the red zone. We hadn't been in the red zone all day. So it was just frustrating. But going back into the pressure, this is actually what Howell had to say about the protection.
How different was their pressure from what you were expecting coming in?
Yeah, not much different. I think for the most part, we had them picked up. It was just a matter we just got to do a better job winning our one-on-one battles. I got to do a better job getting the ball out of my hands. But yeah, I mean it's tough. They have good guys up front, and the way their front is structured, they demanded a lot of one-on-one, reps with our guys, and it makes it tough. Especially in passing situations when those guys know they can just tee off. But at the end of the day, we just got to do a better job kind of avoiding those situations, and then when we are in those situations, we just got to execute.
We weren't down by 28 points. Go ahead.
Exactly. Well, I was gonna say is, and I said it on my Facebook RCTV in game. You can't start off slow and expect to win fast. You just can't. And that's where we were. We started off slow and expected to win fast. It's not gonna work. This is an even journey here. It's an even journey, and right now ain't nothing even about this.
Well, to me, that goes back to the enemy's play call, right? We had 7 punts in the first half, and we had 5 completions. That's how bad it was. That's how inept this offense was. And the play calling, we know he knows how to do it. We didn't call our first screen, trying to look back at my notes, until 13 minutes in the third quarter. So your quarterback is running for his life. Your offensive line is having an issue blocking these guys. What do you do when the defense is pinning their ears back and coming after you? You call draws, you call screens. That is just football 101 from Pop Warner days. And we know Bieniemy knows how to call a screen because he did it all day long against the Broncos. He tries to get too smart and he outthinks himself. And I don't understand why he's complicating it other than he didn't want to go off his script. The first 15 plays, they practiced it all week. And did your parents ever try to force you to eat veggies when you were growing up as a kid? It's like you had to eat those veggies on your plate.
Before you got it from the table, of course.
Yeah. To me, that was Bieniemy with his plays. Regardless if you were even maybe allergic to that veggie, your parent was making you eat it, right?
Before they had all these food allergies, right?
Oh, yeah. The offense was throwing up over those plays that Bieniemy was making them call. We were 0 for 7 on third down the first half, but he's still trying to force those plays down that offense's throat instead of trying to adapt to something else. Hey, I'm probably a bad example, but I don't eat veggies that often. My wife hides them in pasta when she makes dinner. Maybe you throw in a slip screen or something and hide that in there and just mix it up with whatever you were trying to do before, because what you were doing just ain't working.
Yeah, it's like trying to give your dog a pill. You mix that pill into the food, and so where he can maybe camouflage it a little bit. My dog, when I did have a dog, he got to the point where he knew to spit that pill out when I tried to put it in. So then I had to go old school and just open his mouth and just shove it down his throat and rub his throat to get that pill down. And that's what it seemed like we needed to do, is just open their mouth and just shove it down there. But we asked Sam to get rid of the ball. And to me, there were times when he had that extra second that he thought he didn't have, and he got rid of the ball too soon. And there are other times when the ball was hiked, before he could even do anything, from what I saw, they were already on him. We did some things where it was a sprint, roll out right, and you get the ball out. Sprint, roll out left, got the ball out. We did some things that were good, but God dang it, we did a lot of things that were just bad. And there was a play that I know was a scripted play between Tyrod and Saquon, and is a fake handoff, and Tyrod rolls around and Saquon just drifts off outside, and he dumped the ball off to him, and he picked up like 20 yards on this particular play, because they thought it was going to be one way. He was going to go one way, and he turned back and went the other direction and got the ball to him.
You're not talking about the touchdown, are you? You're talking about a different one.
It was a different one. Yeah, he didn't score on this particular play. Yeah, he didn't score on this particular play, but I could tell there was a scripted play. They made you think that it was going one way, but then next thing you know, he made a move and went to the outside, and it picked up like 20 yards or something like that. And it was at a pivotal point. And unfortunately, Jamin just couldn't check him. I mean, he just couldn't. And then once Barton went down, and we brought Hudson in.
Mayo. Yeah, Mayo
Mayo,
came
my
in
bad,
for a
my
decent
bad. Yeah,
amount, and Hudson a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. It was just they said, "Oh, look at there. We've got a wounded duck. Let's go on and try to exploit this over here." And that's what I feel we need from our squad. And Ted, man, I got to tell you. So you asked me a couple pods back, what's Rivera's uh his lifespan, and I said 2 to 3 more games. And I honestly mean that. Now, I know you said, well, I don't see that happening because they're going to pay him all that money. He's still going to be there. I get you. But at some point in time, somebody's going to fall on that sword. And I think he's got, so this next game will be his second game and against the Eagles. And then we go to New England. That's to be the third game, hypothetically, if we lose. If we lose that, he's out of here.
I think he's going to be gone before the season's over. I
Okay.
think that if it's going to happen, it depends on how bad this loss potentially is against the Eagles. And who knows? I mean, they stepped up when we
Yeah.
played them up there. So they have the chance. And that's what is so frustrating about this team is we had that quote unquote moral victory and a loss versus the Eagles. But yet you piss yourselves when you play the Bears, you get humiliated by the Bills, which I get, and then you get a chance to redeem yourselves against the Giants, and you just have that lackluster effort versus a team that you played decently well last year. So I don't know what they're going to do with him. I mean, you actually had a chance to see Mark Ein down on the field. I saw the picture that Mark posted and tagged you on Instagram, and me and Road Warrior he tagged as well. Did you ask him how long is coach's leash? I mean, what's going on here?
No, I didn't ask him that, but we talked about other things, and like you, I mean, the dialogue has been set, so we're going to work on some other things, maybe off the field, if you will, and go from there. I also met uh, Mitchell Rails,
Oh,
and
nice.
I sent you a clip, and I put it on my Facebook where you got him saying, "Rep it hard, or don't rep it at all." So hey, they're on board, bro. We just got to put this thing together. So
And
and a big shout out to Mark Ein. I mean, it, it's stuff like that to give fans a shout that makes you want to stick in there a little while longer. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, but I tell you, my feet were on the cliff looking over. You know what I mean? I'm looking over it. I ain't gonna jump. But I'm just saying I'm looking over it because god dang it's rough, man, as a fan. And as I posted on my page, I said being a fan is a great thing. It's highs and lows, and this was a low.
the problem is we haven't had too many highs over the past 20 plus years. And
Yeah.
so I'm out in Seattle right now. Riley and I are recording this. It's 6 o'clock in the morning for me out here in Seattle. And
Yeah.
I'm walking around town with my AirPods in, listening to Doc Walker on the postgame show. And I'm hearing all these fans calling in as I'm walking around this town that I cannot stand at all. We came out here for a wedding, so it was what it was. And all these fans are saying, I'm jumping ship. I'm done. It's like, you're jumping ship now? It's like, we just got rid of Dan. There was zero chance that new ownership, and we've been talking about this on the pod for weeks and weeks now, they did not have a chance to make any impact on this coaching staff. But best believe this thing is getting blown up. And you got fans that want to trade away pieces.
Yeah.
And this isn't Major League Baseball. If we trade Chase, which you know what, I'm fine with. He actually had a good game. His value is probably going up versus where it was in the beginning of the season. But be realistic. You're going to get a 4th round pick for that young man, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just
yeah. You're not getting.
understand.
You're not getting 2 1s or some crazy thought. It just ain't happening.
This ain't your fantasy football league. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. NFL GMs understand that these players are a commodity, and he's got 5 years on his legs. One of them's banged up, the other one's surgically repaired. You're not going to get what you invested in. So we're not getting a 1st round pick back. Now, the coaching staff is most likely going to be gone. The enemy right now I don't think can coach himself out of a paper bag in the first half. So who knows if he's going to stick around or even be the right person to steer this ship down the road. But one thing I do know from my interaction with Mark Iron and some of the other ownership group is that this will be fixed. These guys build winners from the other sports franchises they're involved with and just the businesses that they're involved with. And they won't put up with it. Magic Johnson likes to tweet about every single loss. And, I think the one was pretty obvious this week. You can't win any games if you just score 7 points or something like that. So he put out there.
Well,
So
he said that.
Yeah, let me pull up exactly what Magic said. Let me see here. Disappointing 14-7 loss from my Commanders to the New York Giants. It's hard to win in the NFL when you only score 7 points. And was that a dig at the enemy, or was that just Magic being Captain Obvious? I don't know.
Overall, just team. I don't think it was necessarily at one person. It was at everyone, the entire team.
But when your defense holds a team to 14 points, you would think that your offense can at least get, 17. And once again, shame on me for thinking that we were going to put up 28, but we'd been averaging a hell of a lot more than that. And they were banged up, man. And I just, I thought that we were going to do better, but it's frustrating. And John Allen, I'm not sure if our fans, listeners have heard this, had a clip with JP Finley that I got earmuffs for anyone listening to this in a car that's got kids with them. Don't get mad at me, get mad at John Allen.
What's the evaluation like after a loss like that?
They whooped our ass, plain and simple. Got to be better.
Anything they did that surprised you guys early on?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it's just a lack of focus on our part, a lack of attention to detail, not starting fast, and creating holes that are too big for us to overcome in the second half.
Does it get frustrating when that seems...
Yes, it does. I'm fucking tired of this shit. Fucking tired of this bullshit. It's been 7 fucking years of the same shit. Tired of this shit.
What can you do now going forward to get it turned around?
Get our minds right and get ready to play fucking Philadelphia.
John's talking about 7 years this. I'm talking about, 20 plus. It's just he's frustrated. Imagine, like you said, the guy from Finland flying all the way down here for a game, 15 plus hours. You driving up 95. My boy Tim David driving up 95, going up there just up and back in the day just to watch that effort. And, you want your money's worth as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
To me, we didn't get our money's worth at all yesterday.
No, not at all. Not at all. The good thing is, Ted, as we keep trying to go back, and I know that fans don't want to hear this, but we have to continue to say it. Yes, the new ownership coming in is a feel-good story. We have always wanted Daniel Snyder gone, and we got that. And we may not win another game this season. However, as a fan base, we have actually won. And I know it doesn't bode well to what's happening on the field, but you got to look back and say, Dan Snyder's gone. And did you really think, and let's bring it down a little bit, did you really think that we were going to the Super Bowl this year? For everybody that's really in their feelings, no, we weren't. We expected more, but we're not going to the Super Bowl this year. So this is an evaluation year for this new owners group. We've won. We really have. It doesn't feel good, but we have won. Now it's time to, as Ted said, they're going to light this doggone cannonball and blow this thing up, this dynamite, and blow this thing up. So I'm asking you as a fan, as a rally captain, and we've got 10 games left. Now, some of those games might equate to wins. Some will equate to losses, obviously. I'm asking you guys to temper your expectations. Temper your expectations and just try to figure out what is on the horizon. And that's going to come down to the ownership being able to convince us of the things that are going to happen. So temper your expectations if you haven't already done it, and just know that better things are coming. I had a guy tell me Don't buy any more merchandise. Don't go to any more games. This is a con job. And I said, no, a con job is when you didn't see it. But did you really think that we were going to go to the Super Bowl or something like that? No, you're not conned. We weren't. I'm not conned. If you understand things, so
Yeah.
let's temper our expectations and let's just let this thing ride out because we know that it's going to explode. And even next year, even after it explodes. See, you guys really got to look at this and understand this. Even after next year, hypothetically, at the end of this year, they blow everything up and they bring in new people. That same type of continuity that you think that these guys should have, you're starting off fresh. They may not have it. We may be in the same predicament next year. So just bring it down a little bit and enjoy your experiences. That's the best thing I can tell you. Enjoy your experiences right now, meeting new fans, eating new foods, traveling to new places. And if you win the game, that's icing on the cake. But sometimes, as I've always said, the cake may be better tasting without the icing.
I mean, I couldn't put it any more eloquently. When we talked about this at the beginning of the season, I think maybe when the group took over, said it's going to be a couple of years. Let's just be
Mm-hmm.
realistic. And I think that's a problem a lot of our fan base has is being realistic. And as a fan, I get it. People expect more. But having done my stuff at Fox 5 and having
Mm-hmm.
had to take the fan hat off to a degree, like you can't sit in a press box wearing fan gear. You have to be unbiased as much as possible. But best believe, like JP Finley grew up in Maryland, went to high school here, went to school here. He is a fan of this team. Brian Mitchell played. He is a journalist, but he is a fan of this team. But you also have to look at it realistically. If our fans would realistically look at things, we're not going 16-0. And I know people like to think that and hope that and wish that, but hope is not a strategy. And if you're more realistic with yourself about expectations, every once in a while, they'll surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those surprises to me that are the highest of the highs. And you don't get the lowest of the lows if you're realistic with yourself. Realistically, I didn't think that we were going to beat the Eagles when we played them, but they made me proud based upon what they did.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to beat the Bills realistically, and then we just got thumped, right? That, to me, it wasn't as low because I was realistic. I didn't think we were going to beat Josh Allen and a Buffalo Bills team. So it didn't hurt as much. So these fans calling in and yelling and screaming and talking about con jobs and this and that, if you were realistic about what you're watching, what you've been watching during Rivera's entire tenure here, then you're not being conned. You're just being delusional. And that's on you. And hey, it's part of being a fan, but
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, we paid for the sins of Vinny Serrato because he took a bunch of horrible draft picks. Right? The same thing happened with Bruce Allen. Unfortunately, we're going to be paying for the sins of Ron Rivera when this new coaching staff comes in. So you got to cut these guys some slack because they have drafted players that don't fit in systems. We're recording right now and we don't have a snap count, but Forbes barely played that game. And he
Yeah.
was your first round pick. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot draft a first round pick that does not play. And guess what? That's going to hurt us for a couple of years. So it's going to take time for this to get fixed. But the thing is, I have faith for once. For me, when Napoleon was in charge and he was here, I don't think we ever would have luckboxed our way into anything. Now I know it's going to get fixed. And you talk about tempering your expectations. To me, that's exactly it. You've got to just be positive to a degree. I'm not saying expect to lose, but if you know what we watched on Sunday and know how it happened, yes, demand to win. Yes, be vocal, share just your disdain for whatever happened this past week, but also still support, still be there. Because to me, if you're just jumping ship and not going anymore, then were you a fan to begin with? And that's just my opinion.
Hmm. You got to be a fan through the highs and the lows because that's what fans do. I mean, I can remember, and I'm old enough to remember when before Tom Brady, the New England Patriots weren't ish. I remember when the Seattle Seahawks weren't ish. You know, a lot of these teams, they just weren't. And they had a stroke of good drafts. Let's look at Dallas, our arch enemy, right? They've got all that talent and they still can't put it together. So what would you rather have? All that talent like what Dallas has and can't put it together, or know that you're borderline where we've got talent, but our expectations were never Super Bowl, not like how they are every year, and they get defeated. They get defeated because they've got all of that talent, and we're still trying to put it together and try to figure it out, and we're not there yet. It's coming, as Ted said. It's coming. And I have faith that these guys who are true sports owners who understand how things work are going to put it together. I'm not counting this season out because I'm still going to go to the games. I'm still going to do my part as a fan because that's what I love to do. I can't put what I do on anybody else, but that's what I do. And I'll be there. I'll be rooting them on, no doubt. And if they win, heck yeah. If they lose, okay. It's a surprise, as Ted said.
Better days are coming. And yes, there's still 10 more games left. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we just dug too big a hole in the first half. And this is actually what Sam had to say.
It's hard to win football games in this league when you play a half that bad. Unfortunately, we kept it a 2-score game pretty much the whole game. Then it got down to a 1-score game. Defense got a big turnover. But our defense played well enough for us to win the day, and offensively we didn't do our job.
And that last pass to Jahan, I was looking for you on the TV coverage. They showed Hog Farmer Chris a bunch, looking grumpy and not happy. And when Hog Farmer Chris ain't smiling, it's a bad day. But where were you sitting for the game? I didn't get a chance to actually see you on any of it.
So I was end zone. I was row one end zone, but I was on the visitor side versus the commander side. And so a lot of times I don't think that the friendly, if you will, cameras will make their way to that side, if you will. I don't know, but I was definitely there, and a couple people said they did see me. I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to be seen per se, but if you see me, okay, good. But if not, so be it. But
well, I was worried personally because I didn't, I'm thinking you're going to be on TV. I know you made it up 95 safe, so I got a little concerned that I didn't see you. And then you're talking about being on the edge of that cliff after watching that first half. Then I got really concerned. So,
yeah.
But were you in the end zone where the last drive was driving down to, or was that the opposite side for you?
The opposite side.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you didn't get a chance to see the Dotson drop up close.
Not up close, I didn't. I saw it on the screen. So yeah, I didn't see it up close. I mean, and I haven't seen the film yet either, or the replay of the game. Was it a catchable? It looked like it was a catchable pass. It looked like it was.
Well, this is what Sam had to say about it.
That last play, I got to make it easier on Jahan. Probably a lot of people are going to say he should have caught it, but I got to give him a better ball, and he was wide open. I got to give him a better throw.
So on the screen right now, can you see that video?
Yes.
So the pass was behind him. Sam's scrambling. He's rolling to his left, and he throws it just a little bit behind Jahan, but it hit him in the hands. To me, it hits you in the hands as a receiver. You got to make that catch.
Okay.
This is what Jahan had to say about the drop.
You were kind of sitting on the sideline as guys were shaking hands. What's going through your head in that moment?
Everything. Just because I know the capability of myself. I know I make those plays all the time with my eyes closed. So not being able to make that play, it hurts for sure. And I'm going to let it hurt because that's the only way I'm going to get better because I don't want to feel like this again. But, I'm going to get back to work. That's all I do. That's what I'm going to continue to do.
And that's what I'd like to hear from Jahan. I mean, he was a non-factor weeks prior. And we talked about what happened. Is it a sophomore slump? Did he just disappear? Jahan had 8 targets this game, right? And he had one horrible drop, probably at just the most inopportune time, but he had 5 catches and he was all over running around doing stuff. What I have an issue with is Terry didn't have his first catch until 6 minutes and 20 seconds in the third quarter. So that to me is just another bit of malpractice here. And the things that went wrong are fixable. There are 10 games left, right? Bieniemy didn't move the pocket for Sam, really, until the second half. He didn't bring in jumbo protection until the second half. So they obviously can learn and have learned from their mistakes. So we have a chance to still win our FanDuel bet, still get to that 6.5, 7 wins. But
it's going to be tough, bro. It's going to be tough.
It is. Especially this week coming up. But that's what makes this so frustrating, and it makes you want to bang your head against the wall because there are signs that Terry one-on-one down that sideline against that kid, caught that ball and got nailed where he had that unsportsmanlike conduct or roughing the defenseless receiver play.
Yeah.
It's just more of that. And Terry actually got into it and basically said, just give us more fades, give us more go routes, knowing that they're playing more man coverage because Terry can beat man coverage all day long. And it's those things that I feel that the staff just doesn't get and doesn't trust right now. But you hope over these next 10 games as we're going through this evaluation period and who knows what happens, that they learn that and they understand that because like you said, we've got some talent and we've got some weapons. I just hope that they don't do themselves a disservice by not protecting Sam because I do think he can be our long-term QB. And we obviously know what we got in Terry, and Jahan finally showed up and made an appearance. You just put these pieces together. But to me, you cannot be stubborn as a coaching staff with what you want to do, trying to fit your scheme versus trying to fit the players into what actually should be the right scheme for them.
So you're saying that Terry said on the sidelines to the coaches that we need to throw more fades. That's what he actually said to the coaches, or that's what he was told that's what he said during a press conference? Because when I was playing, and I know that it's not pro, okay, but coaches went by feedback of what the player said. So is he running to the sideline saying, Coach, let's do this? Or is the coach saying, hey, man, what are you seeing out there? You know what I mean?
So he talked about getting to it late. He said, Terry McLaurin on finally adjusting to beat pressure with fades, et cetera. We got to that late. Hopefully going forward, we can just get to it a little earlier and give us a chance to make plays down the field. And to me, that goes back to the script. That goes back to the first 15 plays and trying to do what you thought worked well in practice. And for those of our listeners that don't know, they practice these plays all week long at that point, and they're doing it whether you want them to or not. Coach Gibbs would throw that script out the window. If it's not working, he would just chuck that damn thing and throw it in a trash can. And that's not happening here. And it's just being able to adjust. This is actually what Sam had to say about the first half game plan script.
Were you surprised you guys didn't go with the max protect and the rollouts a little earlier after all the early pressures?
No, I think the hard thing is, you work all week long on a game plan, and you work on the opening script, and you work on all these plays that you think are good against their defense. And at the end of the day, the play calls were fine, and what we were doing was fine. We just weren't executing. So it's kind of hard to just say, after the first few drives, to just say, screw it, we're throwing our whole game plan away. We're going to do something else. I thought our plan was fine. We just got to do a better job executing.
It wasn't fine, man. 7 punts and 5 completions. You cannot say that it was fine. Even if you you're not executing it for a reason. You're not executing it because the Giants are sending more than you can protect. So change up the protection and change the play and throw the script out the window. And to me, that's just the stubbornness of these people that are coaching these players. And of course, Sam is not going to throw his coach under the bus.
No.
Right? Terry's not going to throw his coach under the bus. John Allen, even though he's cursing up a storm, is not going to throw Del Rio under the bus. But realistically, we got eyes. We can see what was going on and what was wrong. And even if you can't, the TV announcers are going to tell you what's going wrong. So we don't understand. I got stuck listening to the freaking TV feed because I'm out here in Seattle. And oh, by the way, let me tell you about that. But no bars have the Sunday ticket anymore because it's all on YouTube TV. And these TVs aren't built for smart TVs. They're old bar TVs. So I called 20 bars on Saturday. Couldn't find a single damn one that had it. So I got stuck watching my laptop and hearing freaking Tiki Barber. But at that point, was it Tiki or Rhonda, regardless. They're talking about, we don't know why they're dropping Sam Howell back so many times. This kid's getting killed. If we can see this, they can see this. I just don't get why Bieniemy, who's supposed to be this brilliant mind, does not see it. And I am just hoping for Sam's sake and potentially the new staff that's going to take over, he's not damaged goods by the time they get here.
Yeah, because one of the things that we know is, and we said this also, he may not be here just because the new regime wants their guy, whoever their guy may be. I mean, the sad thing is, and I know this is a far off one, but just to give you an example, the new regime could come in and say, you know what? We like what we saw in Carson Wentz, and we want to bring Carson Wentz in because we like what it could be like that, even though we don't want it to be.
Hell no.
But you know what I'm saying? They want their guy. And if they feel that that person is their guy, it doesn't matter what we as fans think. And it goes back to something else. Guys, can we drop the whole Redskins Commanders names? Can we drop it? I don't know how many times I gotta hear the Commanders name sucks. Okay, so does the Wizards, so does the Guardians, so does all these other teams. No matter what this team may change, and I said may change this name to, you may not like it. So what are you going to do then?
Yeah, the old one's not coming back.
It's not coming back. It's not coming back. Right now, the Commanders is the name, whether you like it or not. And I'm so frustrated with this. Is it the best name? No. Is it the worst name? No. It's a name. It's a name. Come on, guys. I'm telling you,
it's getting old.
It really is. It could be something else. And what happens if you don't like that? Are you going to complain all year about that? At some point in time, hey, let it go. Let it go. It is what it is.
Unless you have a tattoo that says HTTR, and I want to see this tattoo, then, in my opinion, shut the hell up. You just want it, so maybe your tattoo doesn't look like something you got to cover up later on. And okay, you got a valid reason. But other than that, we ain't going back. I just had dinner with 8 Seattle fans, and they're all asking me about the name. Because we can't talk about Dan anymore, so I guess that's the new topic to talk about when our team comes up. And you know what? They actually said we don't see a problem with it, because I'm telling them I think it's going to change. Realistically, I think it's going to change when we get a new stadium, when that's on the horizon, because I don't think as business people it makes sense to change everything inside FedEx Field that they have made Commanders. You're just throwing good money after bad at that point. So do it when you get the new place. But hearing other fans, and you travel, obviously, you're a rally captain. I'm walking around Atlanta. Those fans don't seem to think it's a bad name. You guys are just being biased when it comes to it. And it is what it is. If we would have won on Sunday, that would never have come up. If we weren't 3-4 right now, it wouldn't be a topic. But because the sky's falling and everything else sucks, you're just throwing this on top of it. And, we all have a love for the old name. But
Oh yeah.
realistically, it's in the past. You know, it's not here anymore. You won't see us lobbying for it just because going back to a point earlier in the pod, be realistic. It's not realistic to think that that's coming back. And I don't care if you want to send me all these stats about that petition, that I know a bunch of those names that signed it weren't real. It's just not going to happen. But what is going to happen is we got the Eagles coming up.
No doubt about
And
it.
what? How many sleeps and a wake up? I mean, it's I'm not, even though I'm Asian, I'm not that good at math, and I can say that because I'm Asian. But before the Eagles get here, who has to watch more film for you? Who doesn't get a day off this week? Typically Monday is their day off. Who is sitting at the facility today with those toothpicks, holding their eyes open, watching more film for you?
Coaches and linemen.
Did you hack my email? Because that's exactly what I got here. And Benjamin St. Juice. But to me, Eric Bieniemy needs to go back and watch every single Sam Howell hit, not just sack, but every time Sam's been hit. And he needs to understand what he's doing. Sam has been hit 69 times in 7 games. We all know the sack record, but 69 times in 7 games. And look at the situation he's putting this young man in and understand that you got to scheme him up different. You got to do something else about it. And Benjamin St. Juice, hey, we were all celebrating your whole little whatever thing that is at that point. And those wondering, look at our YouTube. But dude, you got burned on a double move how many times? You're in single man coverage with no one over top of you. You cannot bite on those things.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, we turned just a no-name guy into a freaking all-pro one day. And we got to stop doing it.
I told you no gold jackets given, and we did. But to get back to your other question that you asked, we got 5 days and a wake up is what we got. We got 5 days and a wake up. And so because of St. Juice biting on the double move, because of Forbes biting on the double move, is it coming down to players or is it coaching?
To me, that's coaching.
Okay.
To me, that is 100% coaching. And those players, I don't say they're resistant. I don't remember not Forbes. I don't remember St. Juice biting on this many double moves before. And you're not blitzing. Del Rio does not like to blitz. He likes to get pressure with 4. Yes, Khaleke Hudson had his first sack ever. I get it, but it is few and far between. So there should be safety help over top. What is going on with this defensive scheme? And the coaches, we know they watch film. I don't know what they're watching, but they need to go in and maybe change some things up. Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe because Kendall Fuller wasn't there and St. Juice was thinking, oh, okay, I got this. But looking at this guy's game log, Darren Waller that was Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt had 2 catches for 75 yards. Sorry, there's no excuse for that. Right? And these guys, who, and this was what they love about Doc Walker, who their number 1 receiver is. You shut down that number 1 receiver. You bracket that guy. You don't let him beat you. We let number 1 receivers be number 1 receivers. And that's just what I don't get. And yes, they only scored 14 points, but it's not the fact of that. If you actually watch just from a yards perspective, they killed us. They had how many yards in this game? And we lucked out.
Yeah, it didn't reflect on the scoreboard, but it reflected on the stat sheet. And sometimes the stat sheet can tell you more than what a scoreboard ever could.
350 yards on offense. Right? And we were, I'm trying to think. I pulled up this one stat. Let me see here. 13 of 14 drives resulted in a turnover or a punt for us on offense. I mean, it's just, you can't have good football. And we know these guys know how to play good football because we witnessed it against the Eagles. Our other wins, they really weren't good games. Other than I'd say that Falcons game was maybe the most all-around win we had. But that win against the Cardinals and that win against the Broncos, they weren't 60-minute games. The
Yeah.
only 60-minute game that we actually fought was a loss. And that's who we have to play this week. And hopefully the guys that you're talking about that have to watch more film actually do it. And maybe they don't take the day off today. But who gets your rally chant closing this out?
Basically, the only guy that scored, B-Rob. Hate to say it, hate to be that simple with it, but he's the one who gets the chain. He scored.
For me, I got to give it to Tress Way. And I'm not trying to be, joking about it, giving it to a punter. But Tress kicked his freaking ass off. I mean, he had 10 punts. I mean, it was something ridiculous. And he helped us win that field position battle. Because if Tress didn't have some of those boomers, it would have been a hell of a lot worse up on that scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
So hats off to Tress. And you know what? Chase made an impact in that game. So I'm going to cut up part of it and give it to him because he was there. He caused a couple of holding penalties. He would have had, in my opinion, 2 more sacks if there weren't holding penalties and he got stuff taken away from him. So hat tip to him, and maybe he's starting to come in his stride and he does something against Jalen Hurts this weekend.
Hopefully so. And I hear the music playing in the background. And I always say, you guys, thank you for rolling when riding with us during these troubled times as the Commanders look to right the ship. And it's not going to be easy, especially in these next couple games we got coming up. But you'll be here going through it with us as well, through the highs and the lows. Remember, guys, you rep it hard or you don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted. And we're out.